next selection is from Hansel and Gretel. And this is a story that a lot of people know the gist of. We especially were looking for a place for Gretel to kind of stand out as the empowered character for a moment. Is that all you want me to?
Yeah, do you want to read Nancy's and then I'll read an excerpt from mine?
Great. So this is again by Nancy Ximénez, our excellent poet friend, The Foot Warmer. When we were lost, and the soft hand of my sister was the only familiar in the forest dark, I was hungry. I resented the crumbs we trailed behind us. Hobbled and helpless, in the dark beyond the lock with a stack of cakes and sweets piled to tippiness, I resented the loneliness and the boredom that became my excuse to eat. Following the bird droppings along the forest trail, pulling the wheelbarrow, overflowing with jewels and gold, pushed by the calloused hands of my sister, I resented her toughness and my dependence upon her rescue. Beyond the forest, Father sees us and runs shouting. I resent the way his eyes linger on the witch's treasure while he holds my sister tightly in his arms. Long years later, this sodden weight drags my muddy cloak over uneven ground, weights the iron hobs and inflexible soles of my boots. I sling it over my shoulder or carry it in my blistered hands. I am enslaved. There is no happily ever after when you sleep on a soft mattress.
Hansel and Gretel, I was inspired by Sarah E., who has retold some fairy tales of her own. She's published a book, Waking Beauty, which is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, and a Rapunzel book. What's the title of that?
Rapunzel the Harebrained.
Rapunzel the Harebrained, and I encourage you to go to her website, sarahewarren.com. Okay, and check those out because they are awesome. Hansel grabbed Gretel's hand to run forward, but she said, "Wait a minute, please, dear brother. I'm not sure I want to return to our father's house." Hansel said, "But why ever not, sweet sister?" Gretel answered him, "Well, after all, father agreed to leave us so far in the woods. If he had not agreed with the stepmother, we never would have been lost in the forest, or captured by an old witch, or starved, and almost eaten. And I would not have had to kill the old witch. I don't see how I could just go home after all of that, like nothing's happened." Okay, one of the things that we found in our 5th annual NICE is that 3 out of the 4 passages or folklore fairy tales that we chose had some interesting female characters. I will say the 4th one, the story of Hunahpú and Xbalanqué, also has interesting female characters in their mother and grandmother, but those characters are not, they don't play a big part in the passage that we chose. But I encourage you to read the entire Popul Vuh if you are so inclined, because there really are some interesting moments for the mother and the grandmother of these twin heroes. So back to our other passages, the Little Mermaid, oh boy, Little Mermaid, Hansel and Gretel, and Tam Lin, the Ballad of Tam Lin. What we found was so interesting about these passages in terms of female characters is that in the Ballad of Tam Lin, like I referenced a little bit before, the female character, the main character, has some very interesting, I don't want to spoil, but she gets pregnant, she's not married, it's back in ancient times, her king, the father, pressures her to marry a knight. She says, "No, they're not the father of my child, I'm not going to marry them." It's very interesting. The Little Mermaid, a story we're mostly familiar with from the Disney version, is a little different in the original writing of it, the original storytelling, and I encourage you to look at that, and Sarah's poem will definitely make you think, because this is the story of a girlfish, I guess you could call her, a little girlfish who voluntarily gives up her voice to be with a mortal man, and he is untrue to her, and so her fate is, I'm not going to spoil the original if you're not familiar, but go read it because it's a very interesting story about the feminine voice. And then finally, Hansel and Gretel. Most of us are familiar with Hansel and Gretel. Hansel is the hero of the story. He drops the breadcrumbs, he drops the pebbles, he is the one who is determined to save them with God's help, of course. Once he is captured, it's Hansel who sticks out the little chicken bone or whatever instead of his finger to fool the witch that he's not gaining weight, because she's fattening him up to cook him. Gretel, on the other hand, to my personal annoyance, for most of the story, does nothing. She whines, she cries, she weeps, she moans, but she doesn't really do anything. And then suddenly, when you're reading the original story, she's the one who shoves the witch in the oven. That is so out of character. At that moment, she suddenly becomes this amazing, strong Wonder Woman girl child who shoves this scary old witch in her own oven to save her brother. And then when they meet up with the duck who is going to carry them across the vast lake, she is the one who says, no, we shouldn't both get on the duck, Hansel, one at a time. Let's not, weigh on this duck too much, literally. She suddenly has compassion. She suddenly is a three-dimensional character. It was those two moments in the story. The moment where she pushes the old witch into the oven and the moment where she tells Hansel, no, we're not both getting on the back of the duck to ride across the vast lake, that made me realize that Gretel could become the witch in the woods. And that's how I rewrote my story, is that she decides to go back to that enchanted home, that enchanted place, and become the witch in the woods to save children, not eat them. Website, CEARTS.org. We'll have a link where you can read the entire story. You can read Sarah's poem, Deborah's poem, Nancy's poems. All the submissions will be online. You'll also have the podcast and the videos of our presentations tonight. And I hope that you guys will stick with us for the 6th annual NICE. Sarah E., come up here and let's discuss what we might do for the 6th annual NICE, because this is about the time where we want some ideas from our global audience. Our email is info@CEArts.org, and you can email us your ideas for what classic pieces of literature or a theme perhaps that then we could find some classic literature. Tell us what you think we should work with next year. Thoughts, Sarah E.?
Now, this did not come from me, but from an unknown source. Gothic novels has been suggested.
Oh, yes!
The reason that I find it necessary to say it didn't come from me is that it's Jane Eyre, among others.
You can also do Dracula. The ultimate. Bram Stoker, here we come,
Something that we look for in selecting the 4 passages. We like
standalone.
Yes. Standalone.
Which means you don't have to read the whole book again.
Right, that you have some kind of quote passage that pops out. A lot of times, again, we choose ones which people read maybe in high school a long time ago, but we also usually include at least one that maybe you haven't heard of, but is a classic for another reason. And we also try to have some underrepresented voices in there each and every year.
That's true. And so we need your ideas of what you, as our global audience, would like to find inspiration to create new artwork. And by the way, we are a no-holds-barred creative, nice project. We don't care what your medium is. You can decorate cakes, you can paint, you can do photographs, you can write poetry, you can write prose, you can do music, songs, as long as it's your original work inspired by our 4 passages or the books in their entirety or the pieces in their entirety. Anything goes. We like to say that. Anything goes. If I could sing and dance, I'd do that. Anything goes, but I can't. So there's no limits to what you can create. 3-dimensional art, everything. I mean, we'll take it. We love it. And what the wonderful thing about social media and the internet these days is you can have, even if you create a sculpture, you can take a picture of it from every angle. You can do the 3D panoramic, whatever, and put that up on the website and social media, and the whole world can see that. So don't be afraid to submit something a little strange, something a little different when you are looking at what we come up with for next year. But in the meantime, info@cearts.org. Send us your ideas. Think back to those books that you were forced to read in high school or college lit class or something. Some class where you're like, oh God, I have to read this book. But maybe now, take a look at it through fresh eyes, years later, and find some gems in there. We want to find those gems, present them to you, and then you can create some inspired pieces. More thoughts?
We also, besides the books themselves, there are specific passages that stand out. And what we look for in those, does it appeal to multiple media? So could a writer look at it and find inspiration? Could an artist, maybe there's words that are clear visuals and colors. Could a musician hear something in that passage? So we will also take a look at those if you want to take it that approach.
Yes, and I would also want to say that one of the things that we do that, I have to say we do it so well. We both love classic literature so much, and it is amazingly fun for us to go through 50 to 100 of our favorite books, our favorite poems, our favorite anything, and whittle it down to those 4. Then we take those 4 and we select our favorite passages from them, and that could be 50 passages, whittle those down to 1 from each piece. It's so much fun. We love to do it. I don't think we have any problem doing it without our global input, but please send us your input. I also want to emphasize that this isn't like a contest. There's no judging. We don't care. We want all levels of creative people. People who've never written a poem, never painted a painting, never taken a photograph, never written a song, whatever. You can be completely amateur to completely professional. We have submissions from published authors. We have submissions from professional artists and photographers and musicians. And we have submissions from people who've never done anything. And we always encourage youth submissions as well. I think we like to say 16 and over for this project.
I think we would 14 and over.
Might be 14 and over. Yeah, we might include 14 and over, yeah. And we have gotten some amazing pieces in the past from youth talent. So please don't feel like you're not good enough or you're not professional enough. We want amateur to professional submissions, because the whole reason we put together NICE, the Noblesville Interdisciplinary Creativity Expo, is to cover everything, everything and everybody. So all are welcome. I can't think of anything else. What do you think? Is anything else?
Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you for being here. And that concludes the 5th annual NICE project for 2019. Join us next year for the 6th annual NICE. Yay!